I am a 40-year-old woman, and my ex, Joe, is a 41-year-old man. We were high school sweethearts, started dating when we were 17, married at 19, and divorced 20 years later, so going on 2 years now. We have an amazing daughter, Sarah, who is 8 years old and has adjusted really well to the separation. Joe and I get along great. The divorce was amicable and we're still good friends. Not like we hang out alone or anything, but we don't argue or fuss at each other. We help each other out and just overall have each other's backs. Because at the end of the day, our number one priority will always be Sarah and doing what is best for her. We've both moved on and are in serious long-term relationships with other people. His girlfriend, Lily, is a 46-year-old woman who is great and really good for him. I have never had any conflict with her and enjoy spending time with her when we all get together for holidays and other important events or celebrations. Until last week. Joe's parents passed away within a month of each other last summer, and it was devastating for all of us. Even though Joe and I had already been divorced for about a year, they still treated me like family, and I loved them dearly. Joe and Lily hadn't started dating yet, so she never met them, which is a shame. They were incredible people. Long story to get to the point, but I feel like the background is important. Last week, Sarah got a box in the mail from her aunt, who was responsible for dividing up my late mother-in-law's jewelry among the kids and grandkids. She had a huge collection of both costume and more expensive fine jewelry. I let Joe know about it, and he explained that some of it was left to me, so he would come over and we would sort through it together. Lily came with him, which was fine. It was extremely difficult, and we were both very emotional, so I'm glad she was there to support him. Here's where I think I may be the one at fault. As we were going through the jewelry, we had pulled out a couple of cheaper pieces of costume jewelry for Sarah to have now, and I had picked out a couple of rings, a necklace, and 3 pairs of earrings to keep, knowing that they will eventually go to Sarah as well. Joe and I agreed that the rest of it would be put away in the lockbox that we each have a key to at my house and would stay there until Sarah is older and it goes to her. One of the pieces being put away is a beautiful set of ruby and diamond earrings and a necklace that are obviously very real and we believe were passed down from Joe's grandmother. Lily had been admiring the set and making comments about how well it would go with the wedding dress she had been looking at. They aren't engaged, or even with some of her date night outfits. Joe didn't say anything to her in response, and when she put them down, I wrapped them back up and put them along with the rest of the jewelry in the lockbox. Now for an update. Since then, Lily has texted me multiple times asking about them and if she can just borrow them. At one point, she accused me of just wanting them for myself and pointed out that Joe and I were divorced and I didn't have any right to keep them. She has also said that when they get married, the jewelry will legally be part of their marital assets anyway, so I'm just putting off the inevitable. I'm not planning on wearing them, per my agreement with Joe. I'll wear the pieces I picked out, and the rest will stay put away for Sarah. I have zero intention of taking any of it out unless it's necessary, and even then, I'll let Joe know what's going on with it. Joe has been radio silent, and I haven't said anything because I don't want to cause any conflict that could have an impact on Sarah. So am I the one at fault for not giving in and letting Lily have some of the jewelry meant for my daughter? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Actually, they won't be a part of the marital estate, as they are willed and gifted to her granddaughter now. They effectively no longer exist in anyone's estate except your, albeit underage daughter's estate. If I were you, I would go to an attorney, get the jewelry appraised for insurance purposes, and set up a trust for your daughter to be controlled by you and another person you trust, not your ex. Sorry. Start with the jewelry and a small sum of money. Have family as it in lieu of big gifts. Nothing's going to happen to you, but if it does, your ex is going to side with the harpy. P.S. Please cause some conflict. Tell your ex that he needs to check his girlfriend. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Never lend Lily any of the jewelry. Once she has it, you're never getting it back. You have a legal duty to safeguard your daughter's inheritance. Remember that when Lily is pressuring you. It's very telling that the jewelry was sent to you and not Joe to protect and divide. Now for the update. It's been just under 2 days since I last posted about the jewelry situation with Joe and Lily. I was so stressed out about how things were going to go down. I was really hoping that Joe would have some sense and make the right choice. After some back and forth, Joe finally reached out to me about the jewelry via text. Not a phone call, but a text. He asked if we could talk in person, which made me anxious. I thought about sending a middle finger emoji, but I didn't. We agreed to meet at a local diner where we used to grab breakfast on weekends when we were together. I arrived early to gather my thoughts and mentally prepare for the conversation. I needed to get in the right headspace for this. Joe showed up looking a bit tense, but he greeted me with a smile. Yeah, a smile. We sat down in a booth, and I noticed he kept glancing at the door as if he was waiting for someone. It's like, do you want to have a conversation with me or not? I started the conversation by bringing up the jewelry and how I wanted to keep it safe for Sarah. Joe sighed and explained that Lily was upset and felt excluded from decisions about family heirlooms. Well, boo freaking who. He mentioned Lily's frustration about not being involved in the conversation, which I hadn't realized was bothering him. I explained that I felt it was important for Sarah to have access to her family history when she was older. Joe nodded, but said he felt caught in the middle between me and Lily. I get it, but come on. Just as we were about to get into it, Lily walked into the diner unexpectedly. She spotted us and came over, her expression a mix of surprise and irritation. It's like she was waiting for the perfect moment to ruin everything. Without greeting me, she turned to Joe and asked why he was meeting me. I felt the tension rise as Joe fumbled for words, trying to explain the situation. Lily accused me of trying to keep the jewelry away from her, raising her voice slightly. I calmly stated that the jewelry belonged to Sarah and should stay with her until she was older. Of course, Lily insisted that once she and Joe were married, the jewelry would rightfully belong to them. Joe looked uncomfortable, trying to mediate between us while keeping it together. I could feel the other diners glancing over, which only added to the pressure. Like, can you not stare? I decided to leave the table and suggested that Joe and Lily discuss it without me. As I walked out, I overheard Lily saying Joe needed to stand up for his future family. What nerve. That evening, I got a call from Sarah's school about a family event happening the next week. They were organizing a family tree project and wanted parents to contribute photos and stories. I knew this would be a great opportunity to involve Joe and Lily in Sarah's life. I texted Joe about the event and suggested we all work together for Sarah's sake. Joe responded positively, saying it was a good idea and he'd talk to Lily about it. The next day, I got a text from Lily saying she was willing to attend the event but wanted to discuss the jewelry more. I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop the day before the event to talk things through. During our coffee meeting, Lily expressed her desire to feel included and acknowledged in Joe's co-parenting relationship with me. We reached an agreement to create a shared document outlining family heirlooms and their intended future use. The day of the family event arrived, and we all showed up with our contributions. Sarah was excited to see us all together, which made the effort worthwhile. During the event, Joe and Lily seemed to be getting along better, which eased my concerns. However, I overheard Lily mention to Joe that she still felt uneasy about the jewelry. After the event, I got a text from Joe saying he needed to talk again soon. To answer a few questions, the jewelry in question belonged to Joe's grandmother and was important to both Joe and Sarah. The piece Lily desired was a necklace and earring set that represented an important part of Sarah's family history. The situation escalated when Lily started texting the narrator, asking about the piece and calling her selfish. The narrator felt uncomfortable with Lily's persistent messages and didn't respond for a while. She and Joe have a history of amicable communication, but this incident left her feeling unsure about their relationship. The narrator has been co-parenting with Joe for 8 years without issues. Am I the idiot for telling my fiancé I'll leave her if she gets bigger breast implants? I am 29 years old and have been together with my fiancé, who is 36 years old, for 5 years. Laura and I met on a dating platform 5 years ago, and after dating for a few years, we moved in together. Since then, we have been living together, and we have been engaged for 2 years now, although we have no plans for a wedding yet. Overall, we are on the same page regarding life, values, and beliefs. We are living child-free and focusing on our health, careers, and shared and not shared interests. When we met, Laura already had breast implants. She got her first ones after graduating in her 20s and was honest with me about them from the beginning. Literally, on the second or third date, she straight up told me she had fake breasts. No problem for me. It is her body and her choice, and I respect it. I love her either way. The breast job she had back then looked good, and I wouldn't have noticed when she was clothed if she hadn't told me. It came as a bit of a surprise for me back then, though, but I am and was totally fine with her implants from the beginning. Laura originally got implants because she wanted to have bigger breasts since her natural size was barely an A cup. We have talked about her decision regarding cosmetic surgeries in general, and we both think cosmetic surgeries are unnecessary when they go too far and create something unnatural, and they should only be done safely and with good taste. She has told me she got a smaller size because she wanted to keep as natural a look as possible. During our time together, she has gotten one breast job, which I helped to pay for. The implants she has now fit her and look natural, but lately, Laura has been talking about getting new ones. That would be fine, if this time she wants to get larger ones. And I mean large, straight up, unproportional breast implants for her frame that are going to stand out and don't look natural at all. The ones she has chosen mean going up a few cup sizes and adding a lot of cubic centimeters. I don't understand why she wants to pursue such a surgery. The idea feels alien, and I can't believe what she has decided on. When I heard about how big she wanted to go, I was genuinely shocked and thought she was joking. It's not going to be good. It's not just the unnatural look issue that worries and angers me, but also the fact that implants that are too large can be damaging to her health, and the surgery itself is risky. I am genuinely worried about her, and I can't understand why she wants to get larger breasts. We have discussed the matter, and she has explained her decision. She wants larger breasts to look better, according to her, and she claims it is what she wants. I told her I will leave her if she decides to get the larger ones she is planning. I never thought I would have to make such a decision, but for me, it feels like I don't know her at all anymore. I thought we agreed on keeping our bodies natural and healthy, and if she decides to get those gigantic breast implants, that is not the person I fell in love with, neither on the outside nor the inside anymore. I told her I would leave her if she gets larger breast implants. Am I the jerk? To add, this blew up real quick, and I am obviously not going to be able to answer everyone. Still reading every comment, though. Thank you for your insights. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the jerk. So she had already had implants when you first got together. You helped pay for another surgery, and now she wants another one that, from your description, seems to be going off the rails. This feels like a symptom of major body image issues. She needs a therapist, not another surgery. You are not a jerk for not wanting to encourage her to go down this path, especially when it feels like your shared values have changed. Comment 2. I can't fathom why someone would want FFF cups like that. I can understand getting something fitting to your frame if you're self-conscious about having small breasts. Going to that extreme, to me, seems like she's either looking for attention or has some sort of body dysmorphia. But hey, to each their own. Now for the update. My last post was about my fiancé wanting to get larger breast implants, and I was super against it. Just an update on that, I guess. So it's been about a day since the ultimatum I gave Laura about the surgery. And yeah, things are not looking good. Laura hasn't responded to any of my texts since the argument. I spent the entire day at work, just completely unable to focus on anything. I kept replaying our last conversation over and over in my head. I came home after work to find Laura's suitcase packed by the door. I asked her if she was leaving, and she said she just needed some space. She mentioned that she would be staying with her sister for a while, which I was really not happy to hear. I tried to call her, but she didn't pick up. We were basically just completely avoiding each other at this point. The next day, I got a text from her saying she was still thinking about the surgery, which, I mean, of course she was. It's not like she's going to just drop it that quickly. It was just a confirmation that she's still seriously considering this. I decided to visit her sister's house to talk things over, see if I could maybe get through to her. When I arrived, I saw Laura's car parked outside. That made me even more determined to talk to her. I knocked on the door, but of course, Laura didn't answer. Her sister opened the door and told me Laura was in the shower. I noticed a magazine on the coffee table featuring plastic surgery transformations, and I flipped through it. I noticed a page with a woman who looked like Laura after surgery, which made me feel awful. Laura came out shocked to see me, and she looked so tense. I asked her if she was still considering the implants, and she hesitated a bit before saying she was thinking it over more seriously. I mentioned the magazine and how I found it odd that she was looking at something like that. Laura got super defensive, saying she was just curious. I pushed back, saying it felt like she was influenced by what she saw. Our conversation escalated, and we both started raising our voices, and her sister had to intervene and ask us to calm down. At that point, I decided it was best to just leave. That evening, I sent Laura a message expressing my concerns again, but she replied with a cold, "I'll do what I want." A week passed with minimal communication between us, which just felt like a total nightmare. I met my friend for drinks one night, just trying to find some distraction from everything. My friend mentioned that a local cosmetic surgery clinic was hosting an open house, and I decided to attend, thinking I could gather more information about what this was all about. At the clinic, I overheard two women discussing Laura's name, which made me freak out. They were talking about a consultation she had scheduled, and I confronted the staff, asking if Laura was there. They confirmed she had an appointment for the following week. I knew right then and there that I had to show up at the clinic during her appointment. I arrived just in time to see Laura leaving the consultation room, and I confronted her in the parking lot, demanding answers. She was shocked and angry to see me there, and I told her I couldn't support her decision and just walked away. A few days later, I received a package at my apartment. Inside was a pair of large silicone breasts addressed from Laura. I sent her a text saying I was done with this and would return the package. Laura replied with a simple "good luck," and that was it. Everything's just completely unresolved, and I don't know what to do anymore. Edit. The prosthetic breasts Laura sent me were a clear indication of her anger. I returned them to her sister's house and left a note expressing my feelings. I also tried to reach out to Laura's parents, hoping they could help talk some sense into her, but they were unaware of the situation. I realized we both needed time apart. I've been speaking to a friend about my feelings, and he suggested we might need couples therapy. I'm considering it. Am I the idiot for asking my husband to change his life insurance beneficiary from his wealthy mother to me? I, a 42-year-old woman, have been married to my husband, a 46-year-old man, for a little over a year. We were together for 2 years before we were married, but had been friends for 5 years before we began dating. I have 2 adult daughters from my first marriage. Their dad and I divorced as friends, and we had, and still have, a good relationship as co-parents. My husband and kids consider themselves friends rather than stepdad or stepkids. I have carried a significant life insurance policy for my daughters, in addition to the policy I have through work for many years. I increased my policy a few years ago because I lost both of my parents in my 30s. They were divorced, and as the legal next of kin, I had to deal with the fallout for both of them, including a lot of expense. I didn't want my daughters to have to deal with that. So if I were to get hit by a bus tomorrow, my daughters will split $250,000 plus another $100,000 through my work. When I got married again, I took out a separate $100,000 policy for my husband. As my now legal next of kin, he would be the one tasked with tying up my loose ends. I couldn't imagine my 21-year-old daughter having to go through what I went through when I was in my late 30s. The funeral home, the bank, the insurance company, and he earns less than me. It would be enough to get him settled without me. He has a $100,000 policy through work. After I took out my policy for him, I asked him what he needed to change me to his beneficiary. He asked me what I meant. His mother is his sole beneficiary, and he explained that he is not going to change that. His mom is married to a plastic surgeon. They live in a $3 million home on the other side of the country. She hasn't visited him in 10 years. She hates my guts because even though her son is a blue-collar worker that I out-earn, she thinks I married him for his money. She didn't even come to the wedding. If he dies, I will be left with trying to sort out his estate with nothing. In his defense, he has never been the legal next of kin when someone dies. But his mom doesn't need that money, and she surely would not step in or help me. I'd be on my own. I asked him again last week if he had updated his beneficiary status. He hadn't. So I called Fidelity and canceled my policy for him. I also changed my payable on death on my bank account, 401k, and employee stock to exclusively my kids. Now he is yelling about how everyone is on vacation and he can't talk to them about it, even though I first asked him about it a year ago. He called me a jerk for leaving him with nothing, even though that is what he would essentially be doing to me. Am I just being petty? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the a-hole. Also, what the heck? Your husband doesn't understand what life insurance is. It is there to cover your dependents. It is there so that if you cannot provide, then the insurance kicks in to help provide after your untimely death. It is not a lottery ticket. It makes absolutely no sense that your husband puts his wealthy mother as the beneficiary. No sense at all. 0. What the heck? Comment 2. Absolutely not. Why are you the a-hole, but not him? Hypocrisy at its finest. Keep your belongings for your daughters. If he really wanted you to be a beneficiary, he would have done it without you even asking. It's not normal to put your mother down when you're married. Now, for the update. A few weeks have passed since the argument about the life insurance policy. My husband hasn't mentioned the beneficiary issue since that fight, and honestly, the silence is unbearable. The atmosphere in the house is so tense. We mostly avoid each other. Small talk is kept to a minimum, and even that feels forced. It is so uncomfortable, like one of those bad reality TV shows where people can't stand each other but have to live in the same space. I can't take it anymore. The other night, I just wanted to cry. I decided to plan a small family dinner to celebrate my daughter's recent accomplishments. They've been doing so well in their jobs and lives. They deserve a night of good food and family bonding, even if it's just the 3 of us. I invited my daughters, my husband, and my brother, who lives nearby and is always fun to have around. I really needed the support that night. I set the dinner for Saturday evening at our home. My daughters were thrilled when I called to invite them. They love any excuse to come home, and they were especially excited to catch up with their uncle. He's always been a fun and supportive presence in their lives, so they were looking forward to seeing him. The day of the dinner, I went all out. I cleaned the house, decorated the dining area, and prepared a menu that included all of my daughter's favorite dishes. I even made my famous lasagna and garlic bread. I was a little nervous about whether my husband would help with the preparations, but I thought maybe this family dinner would be a turning point for us. Unfortunately, that was wishful thinking. My husband was in the garage, not helping with a single thing. When my daughters arrived, they could tell right away that something was off, but they didn't say anything. We just put on our happy faces and pretended everything was normal. The dinner started off well, with everyone laughing and sharing stories. My brother was cracking jokes, and my girls were rolling their eyes like they always do. It felt good to have some normalcy, even for a little while. About halfway through dinner, my husband received a phone call and stepped outside to take it. My daughters and I exchanged worried glances because he looked agitated when he came back inside. I asked if everything was okay, and he brushed it off, saying it was just work stuff. After dinner, my husband went back to the garage, leaving me to clean up alone. My brother offered to help with the dishes, which I really appreciated. He asked about my husband's mood, and I just shook my head. I told him about the life insurance argument and he raised an eyebrow. Then he asked if I had considered the implications of my decisions, which made my heart sink. I explained my reasons for canceling the policy and how things are so weird between us right now. My brother suggested that it might be time for a serious conversation about it, and I couldn't agree more. I was just afraid it would lead to more of this silence. The next day, I found my husband's wallet on the kitchen counter, and there was a note inside from his mother wishing him a happy birthday. I had no idea his birthday was coming up. I guess with everything that's been going on, it slipped my mind. I decided to ask him about his plans for his birthday during dinner that night. When I brought it up, he snapped at me, saying he didn't want to celebrate. I pressed him, mentioning the note from his mother, which just made him even more frustrated. He accused me of digging into his personal life and not respecting his boundaries. The argument escalated, and he insisted he would not change the beneficiary. My daughters overheard the argument and came into the room, looking confused. They asked what was happening, and my husband tried to downplay the situation. My girls are so over being caught in the middle of this. They expressed concern, saying they didn't want to be involved, and I couldn't blame them. This is between me and him. But then he stormed out of the house, saying he needed space to think. The following day, I received a text from my husband saying he was staying with friends. He suggested that we should all go out for ice cream to clear our heads. My girls were all for it, so we went. At the ice cream shop, my daughters talked about their father's stubbornness. They were really frustrated with how he's been acting, and I couldn't blame them. A few days later, my husband returned home unexpectedly, looking serious. I had no idea what was coming next. He sat down with me and finally agreed to change the beneficiary to me. But then he dropped a bombshell. He wanted a divorce. He said he didn't want to go back to how things were, and he felt like we were just delaying the inevitable. He thinks the only way for us to move on is to end our marriage. I just sat there in shock, not knowing what to say. I feel so lost right now. My daughters are upset, and I just don't know what to do next. Edit. I want to clarify that I didn't know it was my husband's birthday until I found the note. He has a good job and has been financially independent for a long time. I don't know why he didn't want to change the beneficiary. My daughters are 23 and 25, and they have their own places. They are very supportive and are not involved in any of this. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.